good evening, guys. This is TJ Carmona, and I'm so glad you're here to join us for branding for or social media branding, excuse me, for creatives. I have with me my good friend Ty Autry of J Ty Autry Consulting. And in just a second, I'm going to hand it over to him so that he can help everyone out there with all of their social media questions. He wants you to tweet the questions to him, but he'll give you all of the information for that. And I will see you at the end. I'm so excited we're here. Make sure you visit 360artsboulevard.com to check out our next webinar. Ty, it's on
Hey,
you.
thanks. Hey guys. So we're actually going to switch over to a presentation in just a second. But again, in this webinar, you all are going to learn a lot about social media. So let's just go ahead and jump right in. Give me 2 seconds to switch over. And here we go. All right. Well, guys, welcome to Social Media Branding for the Creative Entrepreneur. First of all, I'm super excited to be teaching this webinar to you guys and even hearing back your feedback because, to be honest, this is my first webinar. So we're going to go on a little adventure together, which is always exciting. So first off, let's jump right in to decide, like, how did I use social media to help me, right? I mean, this is the big question. We're all creative entrepreneurs. We're wanting to be ones. We might be in high school, college, out of college, professionals, you name it. We are from all walks of life. And the big question that you want to answer, hopefully, in this webinar is, how am I going to use social media to help me? Well, first off, when I started using this social media marketing strategy, I went from 1,600 followers on Instagram to 16,000 in just 2 years. Through these 16,000 people that now follow me on Instagram alone, I've networked with dozens of industry leaders and gained long-term connections, which is highly important. I think one thing that people forget about is that social media is just an extension of who you are as a person, and it's also an extension of your social networking skills. So if you do not consider networking to be a strong skill set of yours, I highly, highly, highly stress you start working on that. So from the networking, I also got auditions through social media, free tickets to shows, paid travel. I actually recently just came off a trip to Virginia to a food festival where I was paid to go down there and just experience food, eat food, and enjoy it. And then I also been paid for promoted posts. And these are just name a few of the gains from marketing and branding myself on social media. So let's discuss where this particular webinar is going, right? We're going to tackle is how to effectively brand ourselves and network using social media to our advantage and how to use it to help our end game. We're going to build through some steps to make sure we know what our end game is first, because you just can't jump on social media and start putting content out there without really knowing where you're taking it. If you're throwing darts, but you can't see the dartboard, or if you don't have a dartboard, then you're throwing darts for no reason. And throughout this presentation, I decided to use my own Instagram to kind of highlight some of the key things I want to show you that is kind of the baseline. We're not going to get into anything super in depth here, but we are going to cover a lot of topics really fast because for the next, 40 minutes, we're going to discuss different subjects, what I've done, what I've tested, and what I find to work. And then we're going to open the floor up for the next 15 minutes for questions, which at the end, you'll see a slide with, again, my Twitter handle and also my email. So you can quickly email me or tweet me questions, and I will be checking throughout this webinar as well. So without further ado, let's go ahead and get started, right? Let's start with finding your voice, right? This is probably the most important thing when it comes to social media. What are you trying to say and who are you saying it to? So who are you? Give me 5 words to describe you in a nutshell and make you unique compared to others around you. Now, I may have failed to mention that this webinar is a little bit of a write on a notepad or on your phone or something, but I highly suggest you taking the next 30 seconds or so to write down 5 words, and we're going to take a little bit of breather while you think of these 5 words. Alrighty. Hopefully you've come up with 5 words that kind of describe you. Um, my suggestion whenever I do this with people is always the first 5 words that kind of come to mind are probably what you should stick with. It should be the thing that's instinctually true about you. Now, I want you to take these words and describe yourself in one sentence. You don't have to use every single word, but the sentence should capture your essence or what is true about you. Um, this is going to be kind of what we would call in the acting world your type, your baseline type, right? It's who you are. So take again another minute to think of a sentence, one sentence, not multiple. We're going to get into multiple sentences later. Just one sentence that describes who you are and captures your essence. Also, if you feel like you want to, feel free to tweet me your responses at JTYAUTRY. I'm super interested to see what you guys come up with. So always feel free to kind of shout me out with those and let me know what you come up with. And that way I can even share a few of them in class today for this webinar. Okie dokie. Now, just as an example, we're going to use mine, which when I did this exercise, which I highly suggest you doing about every 6 months, just rethink of things because you never know how you might change as a person. So the 5 words that I picked are American, yogi, gay, Christian, engineer. When I went through this exercise and I was kind of diving into it, at first wasn't too hot on like 2 of these words. And I was like, but it's true. These are true about me. And then I came up with this sentence, which some of you might find funny, but I decided that these 5 things are all in common and encompass one sentence is the all-American gay man. It works, and it's honestly what I've been using my branding for about the past year and a half now. For the first couple months, just being honest with you guys, I definitely pushed against this idea of who I was as a person, my essence, and try to be something else, which sometimes people can change who they are and become different and brand themselves differently. But I didn't find that my audience really took to that, which is what we'll get into later. But your audience is going to know who you are sometimes better than you know who you are from a branding perspective and what they want to see. So feel free to tweet me your responses to that. I will definitely check them out and give a few shout outs to those that send my way. So moving right along, after we've discovered like who you are as an essence, those words, those key words that describe you, we need to figure out our mission statement. Because how do you know what you're trying to accomplish if it isn't written down? I've run into a lot of people over my time that have say, oh yeah, I have a mission statement. Oh yeah, I just remember it. It's just in the back of my head. And when I ask and I probe them what their mission statement is, they never can actually give me an answer because yes, it's in their head, but it's also just kind of jumbling around up there. There's not anything cohesive where they wrote it down and then was able to put it into action. So this one's a little longer because a mission statement is hard. So go ahead and take these next 5 minutes to write down a mission statement. The reason why I'm having everyone, and would love it if everyone wrote down a mission statement, is because as creative entrepreneurs and using social media for branding and marketing, you are your own business. And every business has a mission statement. It's what drives them. And if you don't know what drives you and you can't write down in a sentence, you really need to consider what you're passionate about and what you're trying to say with your work too. So again, we have about 4 more minutes to kind of think of one, write it down. Again, you can send me a message online if you'd like to share. And I'm going to share mine in just a minute after I've given you guys time to write yours down. Now, we're kind of hitting the halfway mark with this exercise. If you're finding that you're struggling, don't fret. This might be something you have to take some time to think about, but I highly, highly suggest that this is something that you take time for. Having a mission statement, just like a motto or a saying, is something that will give you a direction to go in. As an actor myself, my mission statement helps me decide sometimes what projects to take on and what other projects not to if I have to pick between the two. Because I know what drives me as an actor, and I also know what stories I want to share. Um, so just consider that, and we have like 2 more minutes, and then we're gonna move on to some other fun topics. All right, we're coming to our closing minute with this exercise. And something else I just want to mention is that just like how the words, the 5 words that I made you think about that describes you, your mission statement is also free to change over time. It's kind of an interesting fact that some people believe that once you pick something, you have to stick with it for eternity. These aren't things that are going to stick with you forever because as artists, even more so than just human in general, we are constantly changing and we are constantly evolving, and our interests might shift. Um, we may decide that our mission statement is really big on the power of talking about, let's say, LGBT rights, and that's what you're super passionate about, and those projects are driving you. But after 5 years of doing that, you may find that your focus is now shifted to women's rights or civil rights, and you want your mission statement and your driving factor to be more about that, which is totally fine. Mission statements can evolve and change. And if you ever get the urge that your mission statement has changed, and you see that you're kind of leaning towards a different mission statement, write it down. Take the time to write it down, flesh it out. So let's look at my mission statement. This is something that I've had for about a year now. It hasn't changed. I've made some word tweaks over time, but this is pretty consistent. And mine is to share compelling stories that have the potential to leave a lasting impact on the actors involved and the audiences watching. I want my experiences in life to shape stories on different life perspectives, relationships, cultures, and ultimately start a conversation around topics that can cause growth in ourselves. For the longest time, my mission statement was just about the audiences watching the shows I participated in. And then I realized that I actually left out a key important part of that puzzle, which are the actors involved in everything that I do. And when I did a show one time that had a huge lasting impact on me, I realized that something else that was really important to me was the fact of leaving a lasting impact on people involved in the show and not just working on projects that helped audiences grow, but helped me to grow as a person and the people I worked with. Um, so feel free to take a screenshot of this. This gives you some inspiration if you didn't finish that mission statement. Again, if you didn't finish that mission statement, I add that to your to-do list. Thanksgiving is honestly a good time to think about it because it's what you're thankful for. And I'm thankful for everything to do that any project I have that involves these things. So the next question that's always asked after mission statement, because I mentioned you are a business. Being a creative entrepreneur means that you are a business, whether that is selling your services as the actor, as a stage manager, as a band, as a writer, a politician, a real estate agent, you are now a business. But the big question that also gets asked in my direction is, am I ready to switch to a business account, especially for Instagram? And I just want to go over some things to note that other people may not tell you, but it's very, very, very good to note before you make that decision. The first thing to note is that you can start paying to advertise your brand across multiple platforms, which is probably the biggest thing that can come from a business account is having that ability. Now, here's the downside to that, which is why I put this as number 2. Your organic interaction drops down to 2 to 5%. Because you switch to a business account or have a business page, Facebook, Instagram, all those fun services now are treating you like a pay to play, which means if you want to hit higher reach, they expect you to put some money behind it. So if you switch to business account, which will give you, help your audience find you, contact you, interact with you very quickly, it also increases your value in the community. Just know that with those benefits comes the downside of that your organic reach will drop significantly from when you're just a personal, fun-loving account user. Now we're going to move on to the next section, which is making a good impression. So with this, note, content is king, quality is queen, right? You need to post. There are saying you should post 3 to 5 times a week on Facebook, daily for Instagram, and you should be tweeting at least 5 times a day. Now that's just average for like what we consider for businesses. For personal level, for those of us that are actors or bands or along those lines, it's really important to note that yes, the Facebook rule still stays in play and Instagram still stays into play. Twitter, you might want to look at increasing that and really start to network with people through Twitter. But the main thing is post. But before you post, make sure your quality is well developed. You don't want to put out any kind of content that is going to distract from who you are. Crappy content doesn't attract an audience. Social media is now even to the point where it lowers your engagement rate if it views your post as a blurry image, over filtered, out of focus. If it determines that your content is high quality, it doesn't let it go as far and doesn't let people see it because people want to see good content. So to be out there, you have to put out good content. So no blurry images, no typos, no overfiltered imagery. Now, the one caveat, which you probably saw when you're reading this while I was talking, is that unless it is part of your branding, the person that I like to use as a case example of how you can use quote unquote bad content, but still have an amazing reaction is actually Kim Kardashian. She, in about, probably was 6 months ago, maybe somewhere around there, she did a completely new revamp of her Instagram. She took down all of her old photos and she started putting up newer photos that were kind of out of focus, had over saturated look, a darker vibe to it, like it was almost taken a Polaroid. This worked for her because the next couple of weeks, this is the kind of content she posted. She posted content that had this level of imagery. So it was consistent for her branding. So definitely make sure that while you're posting, you know what your branding is down to the level of what filters you're using. Are you using the same filters? Are you using consistent design quality with things that you're using? You're not shaking it up too much for your audiences, because I'm sure as you've seen on your own personal accounts, your audience wants what the audience wants, right? I, many a times, to be honest, have tried to shift away from posting certain things to posting other things. And I have not seen the interaction that I thought I was going to get because my audience isn't looking for that content. They're looking for a different kind of content. So just know that moving forward. And just always keep in mind, content is king, quality is queen. Now let's talk about using the right apps. Now I'm going to speak from an iOS perspective because that's the phone I use. I'm pretty sure everything I'm showing on the screen right here is on Android or any other type of phone as well. These apps are my go-to. I probably only use the top three and Canva and then the Sparks to really develop my content. But everything else that you're seeing here, I've used before. They have one or two things that I find very attractive for my personal brand. And so I want to keep them with me. I'm not gonna go into this. You guys can explore your own brands. I just thought it'd be, your own apps. I just thought it'd be cool, and you guys might be interested in seeing what I use from a design perspective. Now, I already kind of mentioned this before, but I do want to hound on it some more with you guys in terms of when we're talking about branding ourselves, as be cohesive, right? Don't be so scattered with what you're trying to say. This is why the 5 words exercise is so important to me, because I feel like even though a mission statement, yes, is kind of where your passion is and what your goals are labeled in your mission statement. The 5 words really distills down to who you are in a way that can be easily digested. Because when you're targeting followers, which we're going to get to later in this series, talking about how to find your audience, you only have 3 to 5 seconds to impress someone on social media. That is all you have. You don't get a second chance on social media. If they don't like your content the moment they see it, or they don't understand who you are, what you do, what you're trying to offer, they're not going to buy it. So you need to make sure that in 5 seconds, you cohesively say what you're trying to say. So as an example, we're going to look at my Instagram. So I broke it up into 2 pictures so it could fit on this presentation. The left side image is the bio, which kind of describes who I am. Now, if we think back on the 5 words I said, I believe I said American, yogi, gay, Christian, and engineer. Now, you probably are like, wait, Ty, I don't see all those words listed in your bio. No, you don't. But all of those words and who I am, like an actor as well, go back into my bio. It tells you where I'm located, between what cities I may bounce between, what my interests and hobbies are, foodie, entrepreneurship, yoga, my obsession with my partner and unicorns, and then some funny stuff like the hashtag Team Iced Coffee, which is a huge passion of mine, is that iced coffee should never go out of season. But that's a story for another day. And then you see my website. The second image on your right shows clearly defined imagery, right? Even looking at this, you already get a sense and an idea for who I am as a person. This is what I mean by you have 5 seconds, because someone honestly isn't going to read my entire bio. They might glance at that, get a few keywords from it, look at my photos, maybe scroll down a little bit, and then from there they might decide to follow me or decide to move on. But that's all the time I have. So it's very, very important to make sure you're cohesive. Now, in a nutshell, what am I trying to say with all this? Put your best foot forward always. This is something that I don't think I can stress enough when it comes to especially new people in social media that are trying to figure out how to brand themselves and market themselves, is the fact that your first foot forward should be your best foot forward. And you should be consistently putting out your best foot. Now, Snapchat and Instagram stories have kind of taken away a certain level of, oh, I have to present my best self. On those 2 mediums, I do believe you can show a more, quote, real, end quote, version of you. Now, the reason why I put quotes there is because the person you're showcasing on Twitter, Facebook, and Instagram and LinkedIn as well, if that is also a social media outlet that you find good for your business, should still be the real you. Nothing changes about that quality. You should always be presenting the real you. Snapchat and Instagram stories just have this different way of presenting the real unfiltered you. Unless you're using a dog filter, then you're still using a filter. But you all get my point. Always put your best foot forward. So any kind of content that's going to be captured, such as a tweet, such as a Facebook post, such as an Instagram post, it's going to be up there for a while past the 24-hour limit. Make sure it's something that when you look back at it in 6 months, you're still going to want to have it on your page. Blurry images, again, it's not part of your branding. Don't post it. If you didn't get a good picture of the party you went to last night, don't post it. It's fine. You still went to that party. You still did the thing. But it's best to make sure that you're keeping your content clean, concise, and of good quality. You don't want your audience to get the opinion that you're going to start posting bad quality. And again, remember, you only have one attempt to try to gather someone's attention. And if they see that crappy image, how likely do you think it's going to be that they're going to want to keep looking at what you're doing? Probably not very likely. So just keep that in mind. Always put your best foot forward. Always. Don't slip. Keep posting good content. And if you don't have anything to say or post, then don't. I think that's something that some people get caught up in. They think they have to post. I did say post, post, post. I did say that. But understand that if you don't have anything to say and you don't have anything to post, it's okay not to post it. You'll find something else. From my own personal experience, I definitely try to post on Instagram once a day, but there are definitely some days where I'm working around the clock and in class or traveling, and I just don't have the time or didn't get a good photo and can't find anything to talk about really to say. So I decided to keep my mouth shut and observe, which there is nothing wrong with that too. Alrighty, moving on. This is our final section. So we're actually moving pretty quickly, which is going to leave us some time for questions afterwards. If we don't have any questions, you guys can always feel free to reach out to me at the end. Again, feel free to tweet me at JTYAUTRY with your questions, or you can email me your question and I'll answer them at the end at socialmedia@jtyAUTRY.com. Would love to answer some questions. I know I'm breezing through some of the things. There might be some questions you have about your mission statement or the keywords or the apps I use, or, how do I decide what my quote, perfect filter is for my brand? Like how do I make up that concoction of how to filter my images to present the best form of me? But let's cap all of this by talking about how to reach your audience. Who do you look up to on social media? Here's the reason why I asked this, and we are going to look at 4 or 5 examples. I don't remember how many examples I put up here of people that I look up to. Now, these people you look up to also need to fit another category, and that is who you want to emulate. These are people that you want to be in their shoes. So what I'd love for everyone to do is to take 3 minutes really fast, go on to Instagram or Twitter, somewhere that you love to be on the most, and find 4 or 5 people that have a large number of followings that you want to emulate, that you want to be like, and you look up to, and screenshot their profile picture. Take a screenshot of it so you can look at it back at it later after this presentation. So go ahead and take a look at that, and I'll give you guys 3 minutes to kind of dig through social media, and also feel free to tweet me too and stuff. Alrighty. Hopefully, you guys were able to find people you look up to and want to be like, or um, social media accounts similar to where you want to be down the road. So let's take a look at some of the people I follow and look up to. So I have 4 people here listed from all different areas, um, activism and actors, because that's where I want to be. Something that I really strive to do is to be an activist and use acting as a conduit for that. So one thing that's great to do when you found the people you want to look up to, you want to know what kind of content they're posting. You know, what's jiving with their audience? Because obviously, for example, Colton has 6.4 million followers. He has a lot of followers. There's definitely something to be said about the type of content he posts. Ben Platt, Christopher Rice, Dustin Black, like all those guys, particular feel to their imagery, and their audiences respond to them in different ways. So before you even post something and you're wanting to emulate them, you can see what they posted and see what worked and what didn't work for them, because you are trying to attract the same audience, right? These 4 gentlemen that I have here are 4 men that I really would love to be in their position one day. Something else to note, I can look at them and see, okay, I can obviously check out the fact that their bios are different. Some are shorter, some are longer. Do I want to change that? Do I want to change my account to be shorter? For example, Ben Platt has a much shorter bio. Then again, he is Ben Platt. He can say Tony winner and actor in his bio. I cannot. So that is kind of something we have a difference on. But it's a good way to see where you stand in comparison to them. It's also going to be super important for our next step, which is target the followers. This is where we get down to business, and this is where we're going to grow. Before I started to implement this strategy, I probably saw growth of maybe 10 to 50 new followers a month. Maybe I'm just throwing numbers out there. I wasn't really looking at analytics at that point. It was fine. Those were people that I was networking with, hashtags, all that fun stuff was working, but the growth was slow because I was throwing content out there, hoping that someone would see it, someone new that wasn't part of my initial following. So then I started to ask the question, well, how do I target the people that follow the people I look up to? Obviously, I want to be like them. I am like them, in certain aspects. I have the same appeal as these people, and hopefully one day I'll reach their level. So how do I track the followers from those accounts? How do I make them see me and see there's another account they can follow that they love, that they love the acting and activism thing? Well, great. That's what I am. Come follow me, right? So the one quick way to do this is like their content. You can go to someone's page. Let's just take Ben Platt, for example, right? You can click on that follower list and see 637,000 people that follow him. And what you can do is you can just go through and you can click on someone's page, and then you can like some of their content, and then go to someone else's page and like their content, and so forth and so forth and so forth. And you can continue to work that angle of liking people's content that don't follow you. What you're going to start to see is those people, some of them might like your content back, which isn't bad. It gives you some numbers on some posts, or they may actually take an interest in what you're doing and who you are, because you're similar to the person they're already following. And they probably follow other accounts like the other person that you want to be. Let's take a yoga example. I'm really, really big into yoga. Love my yoga studio up here in New York. And I follow a few yoga accounts. Now, I personally never want to be a yoga master on Instagram, but let's say I did. Let's say I wanted to be a yoga master and I wanted to attract an audience where down the road I could start doing private lessons and make my own business, open my own yoga studio. But in order to do that, I need to first attract an audience that supports me. And let's say I did this exercise and I found 3 to 5 yoga accounts that were very similar to me, right? Their look is the same. Our body types may be the same, because that's also kind of important, right? I mean, people that follow a female yoga person on Instagram may not be really into following a guy yogi on Instagram. You never know. So try to get as close as to you. I can definitely say that if I target the people following these 5 yoga accounts, start to like their content, and I have beautiful yoga pictures on my page, more than likely they'll be interested in seeing where I'm going and following me. So that's one thing of maybe we can do. What's some other? You can follow them. You can scroll through someone's account again, same way. Let's use the yoga for example. And you can find accounts that, sure, why not? I'll follow this person for a little bit, see what's up. Do that, and they may follow you back. Now, there is a strategy, and there's nothing wrong with this strategy of, after some time, if after you followed, let's say you decide to follow 100 people, you can then go through and unfollow those said 100 people. There's nothing wrong with that. If they continue to follow you, great, you're doing your job. If they stop following you and unfollow you because they saw that you did the same to them, well, then they're not really interested in what you have to offer. Again, this is a tool to find people that are going to follow you because they like what you're posting, right? They're going to be interested in you enough that if you stop following them, they'll still want to keep an eye on you and see where you're going. This is actually something that I've used on and off to follow other performers in certain areas or people that love theater. I've followed them, and then after some time, I decided to unfollow them, and a percentage of them stayed, and a percentage of them unfollowed me back. But that's just part of growing your account as through social media marketing. Meet up with people in your area. Again, remember when I stressed in the very beginning that you would have to become a networker? This is part of it. meeting up with people is super important. If you follow someone that's following someone else's account and you realize, oh, I actually really think this person's awesome. They have about the same number of followers as I do, or maybe even more. I would really love to meet up with them and just see what they're up to, and maybe we can share content or take a picture together and post it on our pages. Um, YouTubers are a big thing of doing this, collaborations. A lot of YouTubers, when they visit a certain city, will find out which YouTubers are in the area they should do collabs with, and they'll each do a different video and they'll each post it to, well, cross pollinate is the best word I can come up with on the fly, but cross pollinate their audiences. You can do the same thing on Instagram. Um, sorry, guys, fighting a bit of a cough. So you can do the exact same thing. So if you're doing the follow attack and you follow someone and realize, oh, this person actually has similar interests, they have similar numbers, let's meet up for coffee and just get a coffee and then take a selfie and talk about how you made this awesome friend through Instagram. You never know where that connection might go down the road. This is actually how I booked a gig one time because I became friends with somebody, an actor. We hit it off, we grabbed coffee, and we decided, hey, we actually really like each other. Let's stay friends after our little coffee endeavor. And then from that, he actually messaged me one day. I was like, hey, we actually need one more guy in this show. I've talked to the director. Can you come in and audition quickly? I did and got the part. And that's just going to show you, if you be you, the real you, 24/7, network with the right people, give them something back in return, always have something to offer when you're networking. That's a big key thing about networking. You will see people give back to you. The last thing you can do is also comment on people's content. This is very, very similar to liking their content. You probably may have seen a bot do this on your page where it's a random comment on your photo that has little to nothing to really do with the caption or the photo. It's super generic. My one thing to say about that is if you find a bot that does some of this stuff for you, and there are tools out there that you can use to do it for you, I suggest not doing the comment one because most people aren't that stupid to give in and think that that was actually a comment that someone gave on their page. It's very, very false feeling. So I would just suggest if you're going to comment on people's content that don't follow you, do it yourself. Don't let a bot do it. Be genuine, be true, speak only if you have something to say, as a good friend of mine would say. All right. Well, we have reached the question section of this. Now we are at 5:45 and we have 15 minutes to answer any questions that someone might have. I'm going to go on my Instagram, check my email really fast to see if anyone posted anything. Here, let me give you guys a slide that can, there we go. Cool. This is all the contact information you need to ask me a question right now. Now, I'll stay on for a few minutes, see if anyone has any questions. If not, we will call it a day, and I'll just wait for you guys to email me or reach out to me on Twitter, Instagram, wherever you feel led to, with questions that maybe come to you later at a few days down the road or another time. Great. So I did get one question from somebody asking if I use any bot services to help me. Um, I do for my clients, like bigger clients that I have. I have used services in the past um, to do the job for me. Again, I don't fully trust these bots 100% um, because I want to make sure that what I'm doing is authentic to what I would do as a person. And a lot of times these bot services are very, give us your money and we'll gain X amount of followers for you, which is just so out of character for you as a person, I feel like. So if you decide to look it up, you can easily look this up. Sorry, guys. You can easily look these bots up online if you decide to check it out and don't want to take the time for yourself to go through and do it all on your own. I just suggest being very, very specific with who you're targeting. Again, this is one reason why I stress so much. Know who you want to be like. Know who you're looking up to, because if you don't, then the targeting services that those bots offer aren't going to help you as much. So hopefully that answered your question. All right, guys. Well, it doesn't appear that any more questions are coming in at this time, so I don't want to keep this video running any longer than needs to with just silence. So again, if you have any questions or comments or concerns about anything you've seen, maybe you watch this later, feel free to reach out to me. I'm always more than willing to help out, get connected, and answer any of your questions because it's a lot of information, especially if you're new to the world of social media marketing. And with that, I am going to sign off and go do the rest of my evening, which happens to be classwork tonight. So anyways, I hope you guys really enjoyed this. Again, major shout out to 360 Arts Boulevard for putting this together and sponsoring this stuff so that we all can learn and share together. Please let her know what your thoughts and feedback are. I know she's probably interested and would love to hear from you guys as well. And with that, you all have a great night.